Hello, friend. David Roy Newby here, author of Beyond Billions and founder of Legacy Builders. Talking about building a legacy, I've been thinking lately, the last few weeks, about how do I teach my sons to maximize the love they show for their fellow man in light of the murder of the gentleman in in Georgia. That they thought was maybe stealing stuff from houses, and the gentleman, George Floyd, in Minnesota. My sons are both half Asian, and one of them is very dark-skinned. I just wanted to talk about today, how do we best take frustration and anger and disappointment, all those emotions, and use them productively to move forward and make a better world. The first thing I did was I looked to empathize, and I just imagined, instead of dismissing another's experience, I always like to imagine being the other person. So I used to go, when I was in high school, I lived in North Georgia, on the outskirts of Athens, Georgia, and I used to go running on country roads on the outskirts of town, and I did a lot of exercising I ran track and cross country. I worked out a lot so I could slam dunk a basketball for about 2.5, 3 years straight in high school. And so I imagined, what if my son who's really into exercising, my darker skinned son was out running and happened to be running in an area that some robberies had taken place, and he was killed with a shotgun. I just thought through that process, and it doesn't matter what color you are, if you happen to have a dark-skinned kid or not. Just imagine that situation and think about how you'd feel. You'd feel very angry and upset and hurt, and you'd want justice. And I imagine my older son having some previous bad blood with the police officer, and the officer killing him, sitting on his neck. Apparently, that officer in Minnesota had some interactions with George Floyd in the past, and so I just imagine that happening with my older son. And I just imagining it vividly really just made me feel deep hurt in my heart. So I'd encourage you, whenever you hear of someone's experience, look to empathize and experience it, and imagining it happened to someone that you care about or you love. And the second question becomes, well, how do we improve things? My wife's from the Philippines, and there was the worst ever recorded typhoon there about 5 years ago, roughly, and even Anderson Cooper was there in country reporting on the devastation. And when a natural disaster halfway around the world has Anderson Cooper get sent there to survey and report on it, it's a really bad situation. At that time, donations poured in from all over the world, and I found out that something like 75 or 80% of donations given to the Red Cross go to overhead. I'm not saying anything bad about them. As an organization, they do great work. What I am saying is we should always desire to work with efficient groups where the majority of our money is going to go to improve the situation that we want to improve. Fortunately, I know a lot of people in the Philippines. I lived there as a kid. I've been there about 2 years cumulatively of my life, and was able to give money directly to people I know in different parts of the country through apps like Remitly and Zoom with the XOOM.com and other tools. And that money went, directly to the people in need instead of a lot of overhead. Lately, after the George Floyd killings, a lot of corporations and individuals have been giving money to Black Lives Matter. Putting aside the politics of the organization, just strictly looking at efficiency. I heard a report of an investigative journalist who did a lot of research on Black Lives Matters. And basically, I think it's like 7% of any money given to them goes to some overseas organizations. Less than 30% of it actually goes to Black Lives Matter and directly looks to improve Black communities in America. I just think that's horrible efficiency. So I would encourage you to realize that whenever you can, to search out local people that if you want to make a difference in communities of color, whether it be Black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever color you're led to contribute to, look to give directly to someone that you know. that's Black in your community. If you don't know someone, do some reach out, call some local Black pastors, community leaders. Look for young Black men that may be involved in entrepreneurship and look to positively impact their life. If you can give directly to somebody, that's a lot more efficient than giving to an organization that only 30% of the money or less actually goes to support and improve the cause that you want to improve. So, as a father, I want to teach my sons how to love other people, like Martin Luther King said, and judge them according to their character, not their skin. How to demonstrate the love of Christ to them, to consider others better than themselves in humility, to always seek to empathize and listen first before speaking, and to deal with injustice in a productive way. I've had a couple young people that I know, both minorities, that one said, who's very, by the way, this was a young lady, she's very entrepreneurial. She said, I'm frustrated and angry and I just, think they should burn things down. I understand that temptation because I come from a very violent family, to want to burn things down, to want to react in violence when you're angry. It's very, very wise to be angry and sin not. If you're going to harm someone else's business in your anger, I don't think that's the most productive way to express your outrage, your anger, your frustration. If you can express it in a productive way, I would encourage you to, whenever you're tempted to burn things down, instead ask yourself, how can I help turn this around? So instead of burn things down, turn it around and look to productively and proactively and in a positive way improve systems, improve relationships, improve the way that people treat each other. So by harming another person's business, you're not going to create empathy or productive conversations with that person. You're just likely going to create another enemy and do more harm than good. So, coming from 3 generations of men who murdered family members, I encourage you, it doesn't help at all to deal with anger in a violent or destructive way. It does help to be gracious, to forgive, and to engage with people and look to improve things, and start by listening and asking questions, asking, collaborating, masterminding with people of all different races. How do we improve this? With police specifically, a guy named Jocko Willink, he used to run Navy SEALs teams, said that there needs to be more training for police on how to de-escalate things, how to help other officers that are getting upset, like one officer relieving another officer if they're having unproductive conversation with someone in the community. And I think that's, a really smart thing. There needs to be better police and more police training. And, that's one way that police can interact better with communities of different races and themselves. So just again, I encourage you, look to be humble, look to improve things. Whenever you're tempted to react in a negative way, quote unquote, the phrase lately is burn it down. Instead, ask, how can I turn it around, and give to organizations that are looking to improve things that are productive. If an organization is given more than 50% of the funds towards overhead, that's not an official organization. Look to give directly to people in your community to help improve things. God bless you, friend, and let me know what you got out of this video and how you desire and plan to improve things in your community. Bye for now.